welcome back. This is the Lost Adventure, and today we're going to go over one of those forgotten campaign settings, Jakandor. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe down below. Now, this campaign setting was written back in 1997, and it's not really talked about. I can barely find anything on it online. It was a combined effort of a Dale Donovan, Kim Mohan, and a Kirk Botula. Now, the history of Jakandor, what little we're able to know about it, and the two main organizations/societies that are the main components of the setting are all self-contained in three separate books. You have Jakandor Land of Legends, which is the main DM sourcebook, which will be the primary focus for this video. You have Jakandor Island of War, which is the sourcebook for the warrior people known as the Nor, who are a mix of like standard fantasy barbarian and American Indian combined. They also use giant war constructs made of wood, wicker, or stone called juggernauts, and they are usually in the shape of some totem animal. And the third and final book is Jakandor Isle of Destiny, which is the source book for the people known as the Toronti, who are what remain of an ancient fallen empire who had resorted to necromancy to help restore it to its former glory. They have flying ships and small constructs that have a basis in necromancy, like for example using the skeleton of a whale with a canvas interior, which is used as the main flotation device for a small gondola underneath it that can carry between 4 to 5 people. I should also note that each book contained a poster map of the island, with each faction's separate map using what they use for each of the landmarks on the island. Like where the Toronti would call a city one place, it would have a different name if the Nor were looking at it. So each map was different in its own way. However, the map in Land of Legend, which is the DM sourcebook, has a map where the landmarks actually have both names used by both civilizations on it. Now, before we go back to going over the Land of Legend book, I should go over some basic points about the campaign setting. The Nor are pretty much early Iron Age American Indian fantasy barbarians, and the Toronti are sort of like a Bronze Age civilization that is a mix of Aztec, Mayan, and Egyptian civilizations, but with magic and necromancy. Both societies are human. This setting has no elves, dwarves, orcs, goblins, tieflings, or Goliaths, only humans. And neither society is written in a way so that they are neither good nor bad. In reference to equipment, stuff like weapons generally aren't limited, but like any weapons that are made by the Toronti are sort of have like a basis in using bone as the main material that is magically hardened, though there is an option to buy non-hardened magical bone like weaponry, but it's weaker. Different rules. It's all in the Isle of Destiny sourcebook for the Toronti. Now, weapons, yeah, like I said, you can pretty much get any weapon you want that's inside the rulebook. Armor, on the other hand, completely different story. Now, both societies are able to make armor, however, it's limited based on their current technological advancement, or in the case of the Toronti, how far they've actually devolved. The Nor are able to make armor from leather all the way up to the original 2nd edition version of banded armor, which I would say is about the equivalent of scale mail in 5th edition terms. The Toronti, they can only make from leather to studded leather armor. That's it. I mean, they both can make shields, but if your players end up wanting some higher level AC, some better stuff, the book does say it may be possible to find that sort of armor deep within the ruins if they go exploring, but it's not something they're going to find available in the normal settlements to buy. Now, the island itself is the original starting place of the once world-spanning Toronti Empire 5,000 years ago. Yes, 5,000 is the number I said. They were an empire that used magic and technology to go around the globe, enlightening the shadow people, as they referred to them, which can be deciphered to mean non-Toronti. So, like, fantasy Egyptian British Empire. So, like I said, 5,000 years ago, the Toronti were a world-spanning, magical, technologically advanced empire. What happened? Well, 5,000 years ago, this thing called the Wasting Plague pretty much annihilated the entire empire. Now, this plague was attached to magic itself. Like malware is attached to the coding of a useful computer program, this plague was attached to magical spells and enchantments along with the spell itself. Now, once the magic spell came into contact with someone else, it would infect all the magic that person uses along with their magical items. Like, say, if a certain magic user was sending magical message to warn somebody else of a coming plague, they would unintentionally infect that person. And the effect of the plague was pretty much death within hours, or at the longest, days. Suffice to say that the magic-dependent empire disintegrated in less than a month after every magic user suddenly died of the plague, along with all their priests. And all the knowledge they had accumulated at the time all just went away. A dark age fell upon the people, and its external colonies fell into obscurity and disrepair, and its home island devolved into 5,000 years of survival and interscene warfare. Once great cities that once housed millions now hold mere thousands. New magic users would hoard the knowledge that they would find inside the ruins, and they would build small fiefdoms. These individuals became known as mage lords, and eventually, in their greed to find more knowledge, they would take a little bit too far and unearth like a magically enchanted item that still has the wasting plague attached to it. And once they used that magical item, they would be infected with the wasting plague, and once again the island would be ravished by another bout of the disease. For thousands of years this happened, a never-ending cycle of death and rebirth, interscene warfare, and living in the ruins of their once great civilization. Until 150 years ago, the Nor landed on the island, a warlike people. The Nor wiped out the few mage lords they ran into, which convinced the remaining mage lords to unify. Well, most of them. The ones that did decide to unify, they pretty much reformed the old empire under the leadership of one of the descendants of the old royal bloodline. Now, here's a map of Jakandor. Now, you'll see here that the many separate tribes of the Nor have pretty much settled in the southeastern side of the island. And though each tribe is its own separate organization, most of the Nor tribes and cities are all connected by the standard fantasy roads and travel routes, just like any normal D&D campaign. Now, the Toronti, on the other hand, are mainly in these 4 cities. And Toronti cities are not connected by roads. However, each city has a series of large portals that individuals from the city can use to travel instantaneously to another city. Nor settlements are pretty much your standard Viking affair with wooden thatched houses and wooden palisade defense walls. While Toronti cities are 90% ruins, think post-apocalypse, with an area that's been walled off and rebuilt that the current Toronti live in. And most Toronti never leave these walled compounds like mini cities within cities. The most they'll ever do is travel from one walled city to the next using the portal. Now, while the Nor do the usual farming and animal husbandry, all farming and manual labor for the Toronti is done by undead. And these undead are usually controlled by a subclass of warrior/magic user called a guardian. The undead are also the ones who fight their battles, and when they do fight the battles, the guardians that are in charge of them are especially trained in close combat, sort of. They're not really that good at it, but they're specifically trained in war tactics using undead. The rest of the island consists of ruins, spattering of Toronti outcast villages, which is just Toronti that don't live within the cities. rogue mage lord fiefdoms, and rogue undead that are like magically enchanted by like forgotten ruined temples and the magic that is inherent to those grounds. Though there is a like random encounters table that includes like wildlife. As you can see, there is the usual assortment of creatures, including a vast variety of different types, such as lycanthropes, basilisks, hydras, most types of undead, and a thing called an amphisbaena? This is how you spell it. Which I had to look up, which is apparently a giant two-headed poisonous snake. Now, in the Land of Legends book, which is the DM sourcebook, only the first 29-ish pages out of 142 is dedicated to trying to explain the setting, with over half of those pages dedicated to trying to explain the landmarks. It goes over each landmark on the map. The rest of the book is dedicated to 7 separate adventures. 2 of these adventures are for any type of hero, and it includes 1 adventure designed to introduce PCs that aren't from Jakandor to the setting. 2 of them are for Nor player characters, 2 are for Toronti player characters, and 1 is for a battle between Nor juggernauts and Toronti magical constructs. Now, in later videos, I'll try and go over each of these adventures a little bit more in depth, but that covers pretty much everything in the DM sourcebook. Land of Legend and a little bit more than I thought describes the setting a bit more for, explanation purposes. If I've completed these videos, you'll find the links down in the description below. Now, out of the 3 books of the setting, only 2 are available by PDF in the DM's Guild. It's Isle of War and Land of Legend. Land of Legend is about $8 PDF, or you can buy it print on demand for $12. And Isle of War is a $5 PDF only, and there is no print option at this time. Isle of Destiny has no current reprint, but each of these books, like the original printings, can usually be found online on eBay for around $20, $25. But that'll be it for today's video. I hope some of you found this useful and or interesting, and I hope to see you guys next time. Also, kamusta man.